he had 3 Morgan Le Fay games in a row there. That, hey, still very successful for him. And then you start to get a little shakier once you go up. It was their match against the Dragons during the Phase 2 playoffs where they had even more eclectic. You had like the Morrigan, I think there was a Soul game, a Hell game, and things got more varied there. But like you said, otherwise he's more than happy to just, if you're going to let him pick the top picks,
stop letting him.
He's going to do it each time.
Stop letting him. I think that's the point I'm trying to drive home. Ban one and then pick the other and force him onto something else. With the Kings taking second pick in the picks and bans for game number 1, they may not have that opportunity to do so. Though Paul has shown he's more than comfortable being able to take some of those not top 2 or top 3 mages. He's had the Morgan Le Fay, picked up the Soul, Hell is always in his wheelhouse. And we cannot discount the fact that Ullr being meta means that Ullr mid for Paul and the Pooler is being meta as a potential. So we do see that banned away by the Camelot Kings along with the Morgan. And on the opposite side of the board, the Tartarus Titans, they take away the Rom, the Terra, and the Khepri that has been rising in this meta, specifically mostly for the Titans, but even Genetics has been showing a lot of this prowess.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that that's a very, very strong pick all around. I'm also excited to see them. This is something that is, I think, deserving to be banned against the Kings. Rom has been on like the front of people's minds, but
yeah,
it's got a 14 out of 16 win rate when the Kings are playing it. That is, to me,
that's
like
dangerous.
That's when you start thinking, yeah, we just like stop Netruid. Like we have seen games where the Kings have been struggling that have all of a sudden turned around thanks to that playstyle. You know, your Khepris, your Terras, they're really great. Genetics is a great player, and controlling those are important. But I really do think that we've seen so much turnaround from just that one hunter that it changes everything.
Artio somehow made it through the picks and bans and gets a first pick by the Titans. We've been seeing exclusively, this god is the only god, I think up until this game now, that has had a 100% ban rate. And the first time she is left open, the Titans go for a snap lock, making sure to grab that for themselves. On the other side, though, the Camelot Kings, they take a couple of top picks of their own. Tiamat for the mid lane, and then Geb, who we've been seeing rise, and pretty much ever since PBM's debut with it here in this second week of play, has almost been exclusively banned.
Yeah, he's been banned a whole ton. Not a lot of players have been able to scoop him up, except for, like you said, the Dragons, who played him twice the other day. And honestly, it's for good measure. He does a lot. The Cataclysm all of a sudden doing base damage adds a lot to it. I think his shield has already, and in the past, has been insane. The fact that you can peel someone out of some CC and give them extra health to work with is a huge deal. And I like his knockup as well, although that is just me. I like knockups. Knockups in Smite are some of the best CC that you can do, just because once you're in the air, hey, it doesn't matter if your beads are there. You're not going to be able to get away from it. But the downside is that you're giving up, I don't even know how to say, like, you're giving up a lot, but you get Tiamat Geb servers. Like, you get a whole ton if you're the Kings here, too.
It's also one of the only CCs in the game that doesn't have any diminishing value.
Yes.
You know, a stun, you chain too many CCs together, that 2-second stun they initially had, well, it might only be, 1 second or 1.2 seconds or something. Knockup is going to be the same no matter what. Might just be slightly higher or slightly lower depending how far in the shockwave you are hit by it. But as the top 3 rounds out for the Camelot Kings, Tiamat Geb and a Cerberus third pick. I'm looking across the pond here for the Tartarus Titans. Not just that RTO, the Erlong Shen out of the jungle, one of the only warriors that we're really seeing stick around with these assassins, but a hell lock-in for Paul. So he completely he heard us. He said, all right, fine. If you want me to play something besides Tiamat, you want me to play something besides Raijin, they'll take one away. Who cares the other's up? He's going to go for his signature hell here for mid lane.
And most of what stopped the hell from coming through hasn't necessarily, well, part of the time might be Tiamat was let through, but most of it's been, she's been banned against him. It's rare day for that hell to make it through, and it's just because you have to ban things like this Ullr now. You have to pay attention to those, and that opens up Paul to be able to showcase and flex what he has offering. But you also get a really good pick for them in the jungle. I mean, this Erlong Shin, like you said, someone that not only can keep up with the assassins, but he plays really well. The 9 turns Blessing, having a big taunt and CC like that is just such a big deal. I mean, the top 3 for the Titans is a very, very powerful pick for their team.
And an Izanami to make the 4th pick for the Camelot Kings. It was a Sylvanas and Yemoja ban, who somehow Yemoja made it all through this conversation. All of these gods that got banned away in this top 6, we looked at it and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense based off the meta or based off the team you're going against. And then we just completely forget about all the other gods that were left open because of it. Artio made it through, Hell made it. Even Cerberus, who's been banned away pretty highly as of recent, was able to slip through the cracks here and be picked up. And then a Yemoja as a final ban from the Kings. On the other side, Hunbats and Raven banned away, throwing a little bit of respect over towards Captain Twig.
And I actually really like this because not only, like you said, respect towards Twig, and Twig's Hunbats was nuts the other day. I want to see more of that anytime I get the opportunity. But I actually am really intrigued, just to counting it up, like with all of the support bans plus grabbing 2 Guardians on the side, you've taken away 6 of them. And the thing that's really interesting to me is that there's still so many that, at least in my mind, are still very prominent and good.
That's a set. And there's no Hunter on their team. Cyclone Spin is going to be playing set this game. I saw it hovered on the other side by the Kings, and they said, no, let's grab our Hunter here. Probably don't want to lose our Izanami. And they said, oh, yeah, set is in the game. Hey, Cyclone, you want to play set and pair that with a Ganesh out of that lane? One thing with this patch, we also got a slight buff to Ganesh. His Turn of Fate got a lower cooldown, which threw me by surprise. The fact that was a 16-second cooldown on his primary clear, that one kind of blew my mind, so seeing that toned down. Maybe some Rise of Ganesh, or maybe at least just from Aurora.
The meta itself, Mifflin, maybe that makes set a little bit more viable here in the duo lane.
So in that last set between the Titans and the Camelot Kings, Layers played Erlang Shen 3 times, I believe. It was 2 or 3 times, and every single one of those games, he walked into mid at level 2 and killed somebody on the first wave. So we'll see if that's something you can keep up here today. Wow, Paul taking a ton of damage throughout the early, but he's hell. Yeah, he's hell.
Nice, Myth. That was good.
He's just going to heal.
Spot on. The synergy is already flowing. This is great. I was going to say we fist bump. Now I kind of did anyway, just to let the viewers at home know that the synergy is really flying. Layers at level 2 does go mid, but it'd have to be sneaky to get a kill. Or special to get a kill here. Maybe not. That's my fault. That's on me. I'm sorry. Paul gets first blood in this one. Layers walks forward. Captain Twig down. And Layers helps out the mid laner for first blood.
Look, man. You can't write that, right? I mean, the Tartarus Titans, they're not hiding this strategy.
This is not surprising.
He's got himself past that critical period where Benji should have been able to find the majority of his pressure, and now he's able to get some of that healing back. Every time Benji goes for this poke, you can see it's returned to variety, at least a little bit inside of this one, and it looks like it could be a bulwark of hope for variety. We've seen that item have a bit of resurgence here in the tail end of Season 8, and that should help out a fair deal up against Benji. I mean, a large infusion of magical defense, one of the largest infusions of HP that you could get. Layers blinking in. Does not land the ultimate, but maybe isolate variety.
Blink for blink. Captain Twig will stay alive. Layers, that's a lot of damage. Onto the Erlang Shen, immediately into the Typhoon. Oh, it's massive! From the Camelot Kings, great setup here. Will Captain Twig finish one of the kills, or is Variety gonna go down and to leap on out from the Cerberus onto Layers? Variety will complete what he started, gets a kill. The shell is fantastic, but the Dharmic Pillars there from Aurora will put Variety in the dirt for the first time this game. 3-man Cataclysm from Genetics. Big man Ting rotating over from mid. The lockdown from Aurora keeps Genetics at bay.
Genetics now trying to roll himself out of there. Gets caught out by the cripple field and likely forces his life, but nice knock-up keeps him alive for just another moment. Benji, credit for the kill this time. And the Camelot Kings, despite having one of the more impressive CC chains we've seen, Stygian Torment immediately into the Typhoon, do lose out inside of that engagement, and Cyclone Spin, with the pressure that he has in duo, has stolen the red buff all on its own.
That was a massive engage from the Camelot Kings. That 1-2 from Variety and Twig was a lot of fun to watch.
Fortunately for Netri, or maybe not fortunately, he does it all himself, able to land that ability and maintain his life, but can't take away from the pressure that we've already seen from the Tartarus Titans Hunter. Maybe I shouldn't call him a Hunter, as he is playing an Assassin right now. Cyclone Spin dominant in the lane.
Cyclone Spin jumped on by Captain Twig. Beads used, not enough. Genetics snags the kill that Captain Twig set up. In and out, kill the Camelot Kings, and they get away with one. And that's a good look for Captain Twig. You know, you had the good setup on right, now you get one over here on left. Keeping Cyclone Spin down is going to be important for this Kings team. Unfortunately for them, Gold Fury not up, but they will take the Scorpion.
Just alleviating some of that pressure in the dual lane is so huge. Captain Twig needed to make that rotation. Netroid needed that assistance because the Tartarus Titans have been running away with the pressure on the left-hand side, and it seems like it was an attempted red buff invade, but Paul spots out Variety.
Dharmic Pillars from Aurora will split up this fight. It's a great ultimate from the Ganesh. That'll push the Camelot Kings back. There is no mana for Captain Twig. This is an awkward fight for the Susano. Layers in first, already used that 9 turns blessing, and the heal comes in a little bit after. Aurora and Layers chase down Variety in the mid lane, and they'll get him.
Meanwhile, the rest of the Kings say, all right, well, the Titans came for our red buff. We're not going to give that one up for free.
Oh, no,
Genetics, though?
too.
Yeah, we're going to give him up for free. Benji should be able to fish this one down.
God, the Titans are just running the Kings down in every aspect right now. Kill happens in mid. Kill happens over on left And where the Kings left off a moment ago, after you get a pick onto Cyclone Spin, you're sad because the Gold Fury isn't there. The Titans will not have that same issue. Gold Fury has now spawned thanks to the Kings taking a Scorpion a moment ago. And so a couple of kills and then a nice cash infusion with the Gold Fury for the Titans
as well, thanks to just maybe the pillar of sustain that is hell out of mid.
And now we're getting more data, and again, this game far from over, just as we mentioned early on, but starting to get to that point, especially if the the Titans rather keep playing at this speed, fast around the Pyromancer for sure. Cyclone Spin kind of rounds the corner here. Could be a collapse from Genetic. Cyclone Spin is going to try to turn around the damage, but Dark Portal plus Cataclysm too much. Netrioid puts down Cyclone Spin on the right side of the map, though. Can the Titans make something happen? Captain Twig will get the kill onto Aurora. Out of the Dharmic Pillars he goes. But Layers is waiting on the other side. Paul on a killing spree. And the Camelot Kings, they'll get 2 kills across the map here, Myth. Titans able to trade back 1.
Even from a range if he decides to shoot out that Typhoon very quickly, and he's going to need every single bit of damage that he can get. The Tartarus Titans, if they are allowed to, escape, regroup, and re-heal inside these team fights, could make it very hard.
Oh my goodness, Layers does so much damage. Captain Twig is going to dash away. But wow, that was a lot, and that was quick from Layers. A chance to actually get a kill here onto Variety. Layers has the 9 turns blessing. Variety's got the beads, but they can't beads out damage, and Variety falls. Layers on a warpath. Layers was on a warpath just now. He saw Twig, mad that that kill got away, and then all eyes turned towards Variety. An interesting call. Maybe no other option for Variety to go in there, despite knowing that the Titans were pretty strong in numbers on the right side.
I mean, he can't retreat back to his tier 1 tower. That's a death sentence. Tries to head back to the tier 2 and gets caught out on his pathing there. Layers his damage output thanks to Crusher, Stone Cutting Sword. So incredibly strong where the Camelot Kings undeterred. Primal Fury and nobody's around.
That's right. The Tartarus Titans might be able to fight after the fact, but it looks like this Primal Fury is going to go down quietly, and that's a good call. That's what you have to do, and the Titans are controlling these neutral objectives. You see a couple of them on right.
It's so hard to kill at this point. You may have missed your opportunity to look for these kills. Instead, it's now his damage output, probably bar none, some of the highest on the map. Maybe not bar none. We saw what Layers was able to do, and he's doing
also Aurora's in the game on Ganesh.
Oh,
has
yeah,
the highest damage ability in the game.
Right.
Could be more fighting here on right, especially since the Titans are around as Pyromancer. And this one, in the same way that the Kings quietly took the Fury, the Titans will quietly take the Pyromancer. And right, there's not really a chance for the Kings to get into that. It's going to happen to Variety again. It looks like Stygian Torment used, stun on the backside. Layers has taunt, has his ultimate, won't need it. He's on a killing spree with the good old-fashioned auto attacks. Stone Cutting Sword plus Chin Size, big power spike for this Erlong Shen. Any 2-man pairing, 1 plus Layers. Is going to be enough to have a successful invade if your eyes look there. About a minute left on that Gold Fury, so maybe that's when we start to see things warm back up a little bit. Haven't seen a full-on 5v5 just yet. Variety in a tough spot now to give the Kings an advantage. Maybe this is what you need if you're the Kings. Cyclone Spin survives! The Aegis is huge on the other side of the Dark Portal. Nearly gets the kill, but Layers will finish the work that Cyclone Spin started. Might even make it a 2-piece. Cataclysm from Genetics will not peel out Netrioid. Layers has got a double. He's on a rampage, and Big Man Tings will do his best to close this gap, and he won't do enough. Big fight for the Titans.
Man, Cyclone Spin does so much damage inside of that fight. I don't think Twig was expecting that level of burst. War's with him, and I've seen Layers' damage, and I got to think he's enough to do it on his own. It is a pull of the Pyromancer, but Twig blinks in. Great silence from Aurora to make sure Layers stays alive.
Yeah, Aurora loves this pick.
Woo!
He loves that silence. Captain Twig jumped on. Dharmic Pillar is huge. The taunt nearly brings Captain Twig right back in. This is a good-looking fight for the Camelot Kings, though. Netrioid will get the shutdown onto Layers. The health bar's just too low right now for the Tartarus Titans. They're going to have to walk away, utilize Paul for some of that extra healing. Good root on the back end, but Aurora whittled away. Netrioid's got a double, a third around the corner, but Big Man Tings will take it.
Tartarus Titans showing a little bit too much confidence there, trying to 2-man the Pyromancer. It's not going to be that easy. Cyclone Spin going it alone? No shot.
Now he's walking away, has to use the Aegis. Paul sends some good damage the Camelot Kings way. No way, right? There's no way this works out. It's just the carries of the Tartarus Titans. Cyclone Spin will get out. And maybe if what this is delaying the Fire Giant, not allowing the Kings to get it, It did work out for the Titans.
Man, I mean, Cyclone Spin dropped like 3 different people down to sub 30% HP, essentially all on his own. This set is swinging for the fences
Hidden Blade
already.
is huge.
Yeah, Hidden Blade looks like it could be a Heart Seeker coming up next, just a burst or get an additional burst of damage on the initial engagement. But the Camelot Kings still playing with a good deal of time here. Can step up to the Fire Giants, burning slowly, and the Titans, they're hovering in the wings.
Titans are close. Paul could be the one to poke down some of this damage. We haven't had that vintage Paul moment just yet. Is now the time? Are you going to step in, steal it away? The answer is no. The Kings will get it quickly. And unfortunate, it was a delay on the FG, but the FG falls nonetheless. Unfortunate for the Titans, but a great turnaround now in this game for the Camelot Kings, who have been way behind, still behind in gold, around a tier 2, but yeah, plenty of time before you're worried about your Phoenixes.
But the defense of the Tartarus Titans is something we brought up a little bit earlier. Once they decide to dig in their heels, it's an all-in commitment. If they want Cyclone Spin to be a factor in these fights, they have to take the fight properly and run in.
Variety takes a whole lot of damage. That silence from Aurora is sneaky, so scary. I mean, Variety walks forward, you get silence, you're not able to jump out for a couple of seconds, and you're taking a lot of damage. As you see here, Typhoon out from Captain Twig. So it is a soft defense from the Titans around the tier 2 tower, but still enough ranged poke to get the tower down nonetheless. Captain Twig not having his ultimate, decent-sized loss as far as getting in, scrapping, and eliminating a backliner. But the Titans have done enough, though, to push the Kings back. Only 2 minutes left in this Fire Giant power play. But it's moments like this where the fights can swing. Benji, double stun on the front line. Netrioid jumped on. Both actives will get used here. Layers pulled on in. The Dharmic Pillar is huge from Aurora, but it does not do enough. The Camelot King's able to jump out, jump back in, stun onto Aurora. The sudden surge from the King is here, and it is swift. Tartarus Titans down to 3.
Still minute 30 on Fire Giant as well, and Captain Twig finds the pull onto Paul. That could set up for the rest of the squad, but the additional healing and movement speed of Hell should be able to work her way out of here.
God, the Titans just getting chased down now by the Camelot Kings, who've been chased down in every other moment of this game, now returning the favor to the Titans. The Phoenix finally gets reached here by the Camelot Kings. 20 seconds on Aurora, 25 on Layers by the time I'm done saying it. The mid-lane Phoenix will fall. You can take a deep breath if you're the Titans. You've lost your mid-Phoenix, but it looks like the nightmare's over for the time. They pull into the lead. We're all level 20 now, except for the supports. We're getting damn near close to full build for everyone in the game. Feels about as even as we've been. Hell, we're tied up in kills as well. Why not? We're dead even, 32 minutes in. Enhanced Fire Giant started up on the Kings. It's going quickly. The Tartarus Titans, you gotta get in. You gotta get in now. Dharmic Pillars down. The Kings secure the FG. Genetics locked into the Dharmic Pillars, but he will walk right on out. The Titans show some face, but not enough. Camelot Kings will take the Enhanced Fire Giant, and they've got waves pushing.
Look, man, all these objective play that's going where the Kings, I think, is draft-based. They have a Hunter, and the Tartarus Titans do not. So it's so much easier to look towards the Fire Giant, to look towards these tower sieges, and with the left side tier 2 already under threat of the Oni minion wave, as well as some lizards coming from this Tiamat. The right side getting pressured by all 5 gods of the Camelot Kings. What's the answer for the Tartarus Titans? They have to dig in their heels and fight here on right.
If you're going to fight, you got to do it now. You don't have a lot more to defend with. Benji goes in, finds Netrioid, a great target. But Netrioid will dash out, keeps his actives online. Benji strolls on away from the front line of this fight as well. And so actually a great engage there, Miff, where you're able to jump on Netrioid, but look at the sustain on the speed buff. He's back to full HP.
He is, and that left side Phoenix is taking a good deal of damage, already dropped to about 50%. Wow. The Kings, knowing that, are trying to create some more threat on the right.
Layers is going to left, and the right side Phoenix is going to fall as well. No engage once Layers gets spotted. Layers has saved the life of the left side Phoenix, but how long will this last? With an Enhanced Fire Gianted out of their minds, Camelot Kings walking in towards your base. They made quick work of a full health Phoenix. You got to imagine this one, a couple auto attacks and it's gone.
Only gold with Enhanced Fire Giant on 5. Right side Phoenix down, and now the left being pushed into.
I'm trying to watch for these skewers from Cyclone Spin. Maybe the Dharmic Pillars from Aurora is the better target. We've seen this a couple times though. Aurora finds a big ult and then nobody is in there from the Titans. Aurora pulled back in and Big Man Tings sets them down gently. Back in the fountain, Benji has to rumble on away. Cyclone Spin's alone in the back line, and Cyclone Spin joins Aurora for some company on the grayscale screen. Camelot Kings have all 5. They've only got to push in against 3.
But they're going to make sure they take every precaution that they can. Mid-Phoenix might as well strip that one away. It was only 2 seconds of effort for the Camelot Kings, and now with 5, pushing into the throne room.
Big chunk from Paul. The Tartarus Titans need some of that good Paul magic right about now. And it needs to come now because the Camelot Kings walk into the Titan room and they'll take game number 1 over the Titans.
Out of this is a strong laning phase, but when you get down to the end game, the Ganesh didn't quite step up for them. The set ADC, believe it or not, didn't really pan out for him too well.
Yeah, that's, I think, where a lot of the problems were. We were kind of talking about it. Like, Ganesh takes a little while to come online. Set, I think if Cyclone had gotten a absolutely bonkers start, probably would have been able to control a lot. And I think there was a play at a certain point. They dumped a lot to kill the set. There was a point where there was a Cataclysm into a Dark Portal just to kill Cyclone Spin. That was one. I think this is the other, where they just shut him down and locked it up. And so despite the fact that Layers had a really good early game, they had nothing to really pick that up towards the late game. Whereas on the other side, I think Mifflin had said it the best. They had a Hunter. Netroid, yeah, I was talking about how great he is on ROM and how that has been like an easy win condition for them, but he can very plainly make that work on some of these other Hunters. 6-1-3 for him. I think that Netroid got to have a very clean game, easy setup from the rest of his team as well, that really allowed it to transition. I mean, when it came down to objectives, neutral, or towers otherwise, it was so much easier for the Kings to really start making marks on the map than anything the Titans had.
And I think that's a big point to bring home from this game, is the fact they had a Hunter. If this was a set jungle, which we've seen set jungle work out in the past.
Specifically for Twig, his Susanoo didn't have a great early game. I wonder if they'll pick something else up for him.
Maybe they do prioritize something for Twig a little bit earlier here in picks and bans for game number 2. Camelot Kings have a nice advantage going here, and the thing that also has to be said is the Tartarus Titans had a solid top 3. The fact that RDO even made it through the bans is something to be said, and the Tartarus Titans get to pick it up as a first pick. That's a great one. Then they get an Erlong Shen, who's probably, as Mifflin's kind of pointed out, really the only warrior who has survived this assassin incline out of the 8.9 patch. And then they get Hell, out of all things, who was also seen, as you can see right below, an 80% ban rate all the way through until this match in particular. So the fact that they got those 3 top picks was solid for the Titans. It was that back to that Ganesh set that kind of fell apart for them. We'll see if they change that up, if they get the ability to change that up, because when it came to the bans for part 2 for the Kings, they had 2 immediate target bans and 2 gods they focused out in particular, being that Sylvanas, and then they were also making sure to keep other gods out of the pool, like the Emoja, who somehow made it through and got banned at that tail end.
And so far, they've kept things the same overall. At least on the Titan side, that's easy to say. Might see a change up from the Kings still. And I don't mind it. Again, the top half of their draft, actually, literally everything except for Ganesh set, I really loved for the Titans. And I don't dislike the Ganesh set. I just think the Ganesh set need a different set of circumstances to get themselves a victory there. I think both of those picks, especially Ganesh, not necessarily really going to control the early game. You're up against an Izanami. That's going to struggle a little bit already. But then late game, you did not get to see Cyclone Spin have any of the flourishing opportunities that you want to see out of a set. He was controlled way too often. The Cataclysm, the Dark Portal, Izanami, and just any of the ganks realistically that the Kings had to shut that down made it easier. So it's not even a pick that I think they need to shy away from. I just think it's something they have to keep in mind with their gameplay strategy, is not just can Layers get kills on Erlong, can we also funnel a lot of farm over there to Cyclone Spin. That is the way to really start paving forward for that assassin to make sure he could have a bigger impact. So if they go back to it, it's not the end of the world, but they do have to change it on the field.
It is the exact same 3 bans from the Kings as they take the Odin Uller in a final, the Morrigan, off the board. And it's a little curious. It's not like the Morrigan herself got any buffs with this patch. Maybe it's just the fact that assassins are back in, and now that you can have 2 of those assassins on your own team, maybe it's also just a good ban against Paul. I mean, he was in contention for a World's MVP and really looked strong on this god. It was one of the clinical gods that he was able to put performances on, able to really dominate games. So maybe it is just a respect ban at Paul more than anything. The Uller is just a safe ban probably, just because of how he's been performing with the changes to 8.9 with his buffs and all the items around him being buffed. But as our first picks come through, it leaves the RDO and the Erlong Shen open, so the Titans will grab those 2 right away. Geb Izanami on the other side, so the Kings are keeping their dual lane true. The Tartarus Titans, I'm not going to... Now, we saw him locked in earlier. I'm going to wait until it's actually locked in before I comment too much about the thaw. Didn't work out super well for Zeros, and it's not going to be picked here, so it's the exact same top 3 from the Titans.
Yeah, and again, this much of their draft I was absolutely in love with. I liked their bans as well, and depending on how well they play in the game, I could love their bottom 2 picks. What I like the most is that they shifted the Izanami up, just because after that performance, you could feel, Netroid maybe getting scoped in a little bit more. A lot of people looking towards him easily and making sure that Izanami is there for him, knowing that he's got an easy fallback pick behind that ROM, makes it a lot easier. Yeah, you might end up losing the Cerberus. You do end up losing the Cerberus because of the ban, but I think this is a much more essential part of their team composition, and it helps control what the Titans are going to have. It's easy pressure in the duo lane, and it kind of makes up for the fact that Geb doesn't have bad clear, but Geb doesn't have good clear. Izanami really helps balance that out and gives the duo lane a little more punch to it.
But because the Cerberus wasn't the heavy priority, it doesn't even matter. They're going to go to Sobek. They required a Cerberus ban to make sure that there was a change in the solo lane, and then they only got one time to ban against Captain Twig. And after the performance he had against the Solar Scares with his Hoonbots, I'm absolutely not surprised by the fact this one was banned away. He went 8-0 in his debut back in the SPL here in Phase 3, so yeah, no shock to see the Hoonbots is the one taken away. That does leave Robin, though with a strong Susano game that he had last time, would not be surprised if we saw Captain Twig go back to it. But the world is his oyster. There's so many assassins. There's still some of the other warriors if he decides that maybe he wants to dip his toes back in towards maybe where we saw an 8.8 bonus, but now the option is back over towards the Tartarus Titans. They still need to grab their duo lane out of everything. Last time was the Ganesh set. Don't think we'll see a repeat here, Gore?
Probably not. I mean, again, there's a world where they go back to it and a world where it's not unsuccessful, honestly. I think that a lot of it does have to change. That for that kind of style, it has to take place in the game. I think it is much more set Cyclone Spin up to be the carry, and not just, oh hey, we'll get you to late game, which you can do with a lot of hunters, but much more heavy-handed. We are going to funnel you kills, we're going to funnel you gold, we're going to do whatever you need. We're going to roll out the red carpet and let you go on to it. But I don't think it's something that you can easily do, especially against a team like the Kings. They're going to control that duo lane a lot more, especially with Gabby Uzanami. So even if you went for that style of play, it would just be a struggle the entire time. You're fighting uphill for the entire market of it. And so I like the fact that they've changed it.
Yeah, they will change them. Instead of the Ganesh set we saw in Game 1, it'll be Kuzenbo Ho Yi to round out the draft for the Titans. And the Camelot Kings might just be looking to make a near repeat performance as far as their drafts go. The only thing that has changed so far was the Cerberus being banned, so they have a Sobek, so it's swap one Guardian for another Guardian. But Captain Twig is looking at the Susano. Had a bit of a struggle earlier on, but who cares about Susano? Let's talk about Loki, who really the only player in the league who is playing this god at the moment is Johnny. Now, maybe that's just because the Warriors came through and they kind of dominated, so we didn't get to see any more Loki aside from him. But now we're seeing it here in Captain Twig's
game
hand.
pressure style. So, if we are talking about the 2v2 potential of Loki and Tiamat versus Erlang, Shen, and Hell, you're probably favoring the Tartarus Titans throughout the phase of this one. But now, this would be potentially the 5th game in a row where Layers picks up Erlang Shen and could potentially get first blood on second wave in mid, but I just can't think the Camelot Kings fall for it that many times.
But I don't even know if they fell for it last time. I mean, Layers was just in lane.
Just don't fight him.
Right, just don't fight. Walk away. You don't want to fight against Layers when he's on early on Shen.
Early on Shen.
Yep, that's
and you let that sit. Well, was I... Okay, I just gotta add, did you want me to laugh?
Early on Shen. That is hilarious.
Ah!
Appreciate you, Miff. Look at this push from Aurora. Gets Genetics against the wall. That's level 1.
Oh, no,
I can't believe it. Oh, that sucks. Genetics body blocked against the wall with Aurora and the Nene. Unreal. And it's going to get worse.
God.
Netroid jumped on. Double kill for Cyclone.
Yeah, I think Cyclone Spin looks much better on Hunters, right? This is a great start for him, but
that was all
obviously
Cyclone.
Being a little bit glib, Aurora does a lot of that.
Back at it. So he throws it out and then gets the push. And look at this little guy just
No, it's just perfect.
Just follows him right on in.
Genetics just looks around. He doesn't even auto, poor guy.
Yeah, you know, at some point, you just throw your hands up. There's nothing you can really do in that moment, and Genetics learned that the hard way. So now this lane feels real bad. Aurora and Cyclone Spin have a 1-level lead, and there's 2 kills in the back pocket of this Ho Yi. Looks like Crusher first item, which is interesting, Miff. You know, I figured we'd see plenty of the Mace Tree out of the jungle, as we have seen. And then on the ability-based hunters, of course, you're going to see the Mace Tree as well. But Crusher has been a pretty ideal, not ideal, a popular start for any hunter, I guess, from what we've seen here this weekend.
Yeah, just good power, good attack speed, a passive that generally
good.
will be able to be applied by the majority of the hunter cast, so it makes sense to me that they're able to pick that one up.
Oh my God!
No, not twice.
I swear, I thought it was good. It was that slight moment of hesitation where I was for sure it was happening again. That we've left the Hunters alone. Netroid is just low. And Aurora's been in the back line this whole time. And Netroid will walk away. Can Cyclone Spin do the same? Yes, he can. And Genetics won't be able to get the kill.
Can he do it? Aurora, do it to him again. Use the dash.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Come on. Nope, not going to do it. All right. Aurora did it once, nearly did it twice, and the third time was a little bit further off. But how obnoxious has this Kuzenbo been in this lane? Genetics gets pushed right back in. Cyclone Spin is still here. What are you doing?
What?
Genetics just rolls forward, gets the kill. He's going to die for it. Layers is going to get the kill. But Cyclone Spin sticks around a bit too long.
Yeah, I guess Cyclone's like thinking, all right, no way this guy just rolls out at me. My support's right there. He'll block it. But Aurora was not in range to do so.
Oh, Captain Twig makes his way to the left side of the map. He's got a one-level lead over Layers. And Netroid now back in this lane with the kill of his own. Assassinate onto Aurora. And Captain Twig, the guy who apparently can't play Assassins, is making it look good here in game number 2. The last bit of damage is there, and now it's Netroid who's got a double.
So now we got a little bit of equity, parity between the Hunters
Apparently
here.
was not the right word there. Supposedly is the word I was going
damage
for.
whenever he's allowed to, and Netroid is struggling up against it. Sustained advantage going to go the way of Cyclone Spin. Lifesteal in the build already, and instead of Netroid going for that Tainted Steel means that really he's just working with the health that he has.
Purple buff looked at, and instead it's Netroid that actually gets looked at. He will be able to dash out of this,
nice.
and he will. Nice dodge there. As the Suns come down from Cyclone Spin, roll forward, plus Cataclysm equals a locked down Layers. Aurora still chasing forward. Captain Twig doing so as well, has the damage, and Layers will end up falling. Cyclone Spin goes up and over with his last bit of mana. This is a big ultimate from Aurora, but not enough to completely disrupt the Camelot Kings, who get in, get out with one.
Paul steals away the small minions on the purple
There were a
buff.
couple of times where the Camelot Kings shied away from those objectives. The Tartarus Titans did so as well. What is Layers going to get done here? Over on the right side of the map, nothing, because Variety will dash away. Though I admire the effort from Layers to make his way to the right.
Yeah, the gumption.
The
Had
gumption,
Benji
the gall.
been able to stun out that dash, maybe they force the Lurking in the Waters, but I don't think there's any situation where Variety dies here, unless he's defending his blue buff on his own.
Please kill Variety. It's right on the other end of that. You are going to kill Paul. It's going to take a little while, because the health sustain is enough. Captain Twig continues his onslaught here in game 2. 2-0-2 on the Loki. And life does not appear like it's going to be getting any easier. Variety did nearly go down there, Miff. We didn't get to see the engagement. Did take a lot, still will take a lot. Layers might give it a lot. He has Blink, does not have Ultimate. I think maybe if Variety had passed through the jungle, that's an opening for Layers, but he won't get the chance.
Instead, the Camelot Kings find their pick on a Paul, take out the Tier 1 mid tower, and walk away with 1,000 gold in the lead.
Game 1, because you got the same 3 healing characters over on the other side of the screen. There's a fight here on the Layers.
Yeesh.
Goodbye, Erlong Shen. Layers has not had a chance to play. A killing spree for Netroid. And a couple of those kills have landed on the Erlong Shen. Here, let's take a look back at exactly what happens to Erlong Shen here. And starting off with the Dark Portal here, great from Netroid, or the Cataclysm rather, followed up by the Dark Portal. That is just a lot of burst damage that Layers is going to be feeling great for Layers right now, especially the way he wants to play on that pick. I mean, you're at 1 and 3. You know, you still have this scale potential. But with all the counter engage the Kings have already shown us, Layers is going to have a tough time in a lot of these fights. Ward coverage is swift here and healthy for the Camelot Kings as the Gold Fury gets eyed. Captain Twig walks on forward, gets some damage onto Aurora, who reflects some of it back to Captain Twig, but Twig largely winning that engagement. The Tartarus Titans know that this is happening, but can they do anything about it? Going down quickly, but the Camelot Kings take down the Gold Fury. There's some damage on the backline as Cyclone Spin drops the Suns. Forward goes Benji. It's a double stun. The Stone of Binding doing some work here for the Tartarus Titans solo laner. Variety trying to walk away. Genetics will be able to do so. The Ricochet nearly there from Cyclone Spin, but now lurking in the waters is Variety. Is there a pluck on the other end of this fight? You might need one to save the life of Captain Twig, but look how low the rest of the Titans are.
Benji now left alone, has to use the cripple field just to make sure he isn't plucked out of position. Paul and Layers going to rejoin him towards the center of the map, and a phenomenal disengage from the Camelot Kings after taking the Gold Fury nets them a clean win. Variety in particular plays very well on that disengage. Plays the peel role for Genetics, uses the Lurking in the Waters not only for damage mitigation, but also to slow down the onslaught from the Tartarus Titans.
Pyromancer started up though, sensing that the Kings may have gone back to base. Genetics has not been able to reset, so he is still low. in this fight. There's the push against the wall from Aurora.
Still
Is he gonna
alive?
live again? Genetics trying to walk away. Genetics will, in fact, walk away. The
Good
Camelot
block.
Kings now collapse right on in. Benji plucked back. Variety finishes his own work, and the Kings get another while Genetics laughs from the sidelines.
Why is Genetics still here? Just go home, buddy. The boys don't need you. Variety and Captain Twig very healthy and able to fight this one out on their own. And watch Twig. He might want some more. Ultimate can be coming up very shortly here in Layers. Well, he's not very tanky at this point. That said, Twig, he's got his eyes on a blue buff instead.
He does, and he will get the blue buff. Slow down just a little bit, and that's important. Look, Layers needs some time to farm on up here, get some more items on this Erlang Shen, because you need to get to a point where you can output some similar pressure to what Captain Twig is doing.
Yeah, Layers has similar damage
Oh, no.
output as he did last time around,
no.
but Captain Twig finds him in the jungle.
There's the assassinate. My God, the damage is huge, but Captain Twig will get taken low in the back line. Benji chases him down and finishes off the kill. Layers is able to survive. And what has been happening to the Titans for so long now happens to the Kings. You're not able to finish off the kill, and you lose one in tow.
Yeah, Twig a little bit overconfident in his damage there, and beads from Layers keeps his life up and available to him. But as the point I was just making, Layers has very similar damage output as he did in the last
After
game.
what was a nightmarish start, where the Tartarus Titans and Cyclone Spin got a double kill early in this duo lane. And so the turnaround from Netroid has been important. See some of that strength here in this fight. Same from Cyclone Spin, though, as gone Jotun's first, as we pointed out. A bit more into standard Hunter items later on in the build. Odibo, Kin Size, and the Dominance down the stretch here for Cyclone Spin. So that ultimate for Cyclone is really going to be important. The Ricochet as well, hitting with those abilities. Thanks to that Jotun's Wrath, it's going to feel better. As the Oni Fury gets started up here. Camelot Kings are on it. Aurora is close by. Aurora blinks in. Sun's down. Titans take the Oni Fury. A lot of it by Cyclone Spin. Genetics pushed into the backline. Does not have his ultimate. Does not have a chance. Variety is low here as well. Cyclone Spin finds the first. Benji considering closing the gap here, but a couple blinks on out, and the Camelot Kings will escape.
Aurora seems like he wants to keep up that chase, but the Kings inside the Tier 2 tower should be able to maintain their lives. Having only taken out Genetics as of now, the Tartarus Titans likely cannot approach the Remain safe, and that's just the Camelot Kings leaving up to a coin toss on the Gold Fury. The Tartarus Titans walk in. I believe it was the Reigning Suns from Cyclone Spin that were able to strip that one away, and the team fight afterward.
Odds is that it was that. Most likely that it was that. It was perfectly timed from Cyclone Spin. Gave his team a chance. Variety dashes in. Will not get the pluck.
Yikes.
And the damage from Cyclone Spin is hefty, but Captain Twig assassinates into the back line. Cyclone Spin still pretty healthy, though. Twig not hitting the value that maybe he had hoped for. Cataclysm through from Genetics. Benji tossed into the back line like a bag through the wind, but will he be able to run away? No, he won't. Big Man Tings grabs it, and the Camelot Kings already grouped up around the FG. Will they go for it? Not just yet.
Keep your eyes on Captain Twig's ultimate timer. He knows that Cyclone Spin does not have beads, and he knows that is a priority target for him. But as of right now, 40 seconds to play with. While Benji is in the grayscale screen, Variety going to be acting as goaltender, while the rest of his team, they've got their eyes on the prize. Fire Giant burning down.
Wow, and just in a moment where you feel like the Titans have some life in this game, the Camelot Kings find a pick and could rip away the Titans' chances, especially if this fight goes well. Netroid engages onto Cyclone Spin, but Layers is chasing down the Izanami, and Layers will do one better. He'll get it. Captain Twig, though, stays alive on the other side of the fight and snags one onto Aurora.
B for the near future.
We're about as even gets. 500 gold in the leader, the Camelot Kings. Dead even as far as levels go for the supports. 1 level difference in the jungle. 1 level difference in Hunter as well. Tartarus Titans have the advantage of the ladder. Titans start up the FG. There will be a rotation in from the Kings. This is not shrouded in darkness. This is known that the Titans are on the Fire Giant. And the response, I don't even know if you call it swift. It was just showing up by the Camelot Kings. That's enough to make the Titans think twice. It felt awkward for Netroid in that last fight. You kind of get jumped on by Cyclone Spin. Layers is right there. You can't afford to get that health bar too chunked at the start of the fight.
Now Genetics trying his best to just defend his own wards, or maybe takes a little bit more damage than he was willing to. Drop down about 60% HP. The Tartarus Titans are going to be able to establish yet again defensive positioning, and Genetics might just be forced to head back to base here. I mean, there's no healing on the side of the Kings.
Fire Giant started up by the Titans. Camelot Kings close by. A lot of damage pouring into it. The Fire Giant has gone low. Variety lurking in the waters underneath Benji. Could be a pluck on the other side. And in fact, there is. But Benji tanky enough to walk away. Layers finds his way into the back. Finds a knockup, but it gets his health bar dwindled away in return. Aurora is spinning on around in front of the Camelot Kings here. And all these units of engagement have gotten the health bars low. But only one team has got sustained mid, but it's the Titans.
Layers still maintains his ultimate, so that is at least one way for the Tartarus Titans to initiate a fight here if they so choose. But again, the longer the fight goes, the team with the healing is going to feel better for it. And Paul, he's making sure everybody on the Titans is feeling very healthy to take this next engagement.
So it is a slow play for the Titans as you wait for those ultimates to come back online. Variety plucks a Nene. No surprise there, Nenes are annoying. Captain Twig is going to be around the back here. Are you able to find Paul? Are you able to find Cyclone Spinner? Are you just going to split push down the mid lane? This is all about the Kings just delaying a fight now. He has the damage to do it. He'll drop the decoy, and look at the damage he's doing to the Phoenix.
So fast!
He doesn't have the minion wave, though, so he's going to have to back off until the next wave comes in. The Tiamat minion was there, but I don't think it bought him enough time. Left side Phoenix is now going to be opened up. And the rest of the Kingsmith did such a good job of delaying. They backed off, despite the Titans kind of walking forward. You know Twig is here somewhere, and Layers knows exactly where he is. This is a blink forward. Massive jungle 1v1 now, one that Layers is looking better at here in the mid lane. Taunts through, Paul gets the kill, 2v1. And the Camelot Kings now down a jungler.
I think that was Crusher yellow numbers that lets Layers know exactly where Twig is looking for those jukes, man. Twig, you gotta know you don't win that 1v1. That's the third time this game you've used Assassinate on Layers when he has bees, and that's not a 1v1 you take.
It's big from Aurora. Watch out, back line of the Kings. The Cataclysm is there to peel out for the rest of the Camelot Kings. Genetics will trade out his life, but does he even save his own team? For the time being, yes. There's a lot of damage rolling back in here as well. Big Man Tings walks forward. The Tartarus Titans dispelled back out of the front line of this fight. This is massive. Big Man Tings from downtown gets the kill on a Cyclone.
And the rest of the Tartarus Titans are incredibly low HP.
Oh
nice pluck!
Variety plucks Aurora right back through. Big Man Tings full health on the back line. Layers has found the mid laner of Big Man Tings, grabs a double, a triple around the corner. Benji walks on through. Aegis will keep BMT alive for the time being. BMT make a BM3 on the other side. Triple kill for Big Man Tings. Variety doing his best, but the best is not enough. Kill from BMT. My man goes huge out of the mid lane.
Paul, now just trying to maintain his dignity for the rest of his team, is able to walk away from this one. Usually massive plays out of the mid lane would come from the Tartarus Titans, but the Camelot Kings will not make it easy. Win streak on the line, and Big Man Tings comes up in a big way.
They lose another. They lose Netrioid at the beginning, and that is absurd damage from Camelot Kings, and Big Man Tings down the stretch there skyrockets up those damage charts. And now the Fire Giant has become enhanced, Smith. We spent enough time dancing around it that the Fire Giant is going to get started and finished by the Camelot Kings here, and everyone on the team will get it.
Man, we got to take a look back. It's so well deserved. Big Man Tings put out a lot of damage, but you cannot sleep on Netroid. A lot of this comes from him as well. The Tartarus Titans emphasize Izanami inside of the fight, and well, that leaves Tings open to do whatever he wants.
That's right. Netroid does well here, and actually helps out. You know, it almost as a distraction. You don't want to relegate Netrioid to being a distraction, but turning the eyes and burning some of the cooldowns of the rest of the Titans gave Big Man Tings enough uptime. And that Aegis was well-timed as well. He needed every bit of health that he had here in this fight. Can you imagine if Paul was a little bit closer? Maybe you're going in for that pentakill. BMT goes huge, and the Camelot Kings now wrestle back control. This game was real close.
Once it's already gone.
I sure did. I missed it.
Tier 2 tower removed from the map, and that's the right verbiage for it. Now, just about 8,000 gold in the lead and approaching the Phoenix.
You're still down a couple important ultimates here, though, if you're the Camelot Kings.
Netrioid.
And now you're down an important health bar. Netrioid half HP. Once that health shield wears off, it's going to look a lot more dire for the Izanami. What happened to Cyclone Spin?
Where'd he go?
My God, he's out of this fight. He's got to go back to Fountain. The Camelot Kings walk on in. They'll take the left Phoenix.
And now walk away with all their HP available to them. Can just go ahead and use that Fire Giant to resustain and head back in towards mid. Take your minion wave with you to make it a little bit easier, but maybe not necessary, as the enhanced Fire Giant will be stripping the defense. Or set up an ambush.
It's a bait. Variety dashes in, does not get the pluck, but Benji under a bit of pressure here, who will walk back forward. Layers solos out Twig, but Twig returns the favor. Big Man Tings is still alive, and Big Man Tings does it again. It's a double stun on the back line of the Tartarus Titans, not able to finish off those couple of kills, but it's a big turnaround in the fight.
Man, get out of Tings' way. This guy is on a tear inside of these engagements, but now it is a 3 versus 3 coming into the mid-Phoenix. But Netroid healthy, big man Tings healthy. I love the odds.
Cyclone Spin took another chunk of damage here. Variety will tank up the mid lane Phoenix, and he will do it well. Paul walks a bit forward here. Will big man
He's
Tings
going
call
in.
him on it? He wants to. Variety's the one who picks up the phone. Paul down for a minute. Aurora dashing off to the side of the base here. Knock up for big man Tings, puts Aurora in the grave. And now it's all down to Cyclone Spin. He's on his own for 15 seconds.
Can he do it? Cyclone Spin's been in this
That's
position before.
here. Cyclone Spin goes up and over. Cyclone Spin drops down his ultimate. Big man Tings with the big man plays. Double kill, unstoppable. Ends the game, ends the set. The Kings on top.
Ends the game, ends the set, and ends the win streak, Dave. Camelot Kings looking so dominant.
Titans into a lot of really good fights early on from the Kings. And again, going back and forth between the two of them to the point where, like you said, it looked like the Titans had finally cinched their grip around this game. And then Tings had some other things to say about it. The Tiamat looked incredible, and it wasn't just these little moments. It turns into this massive quadra kill, actually right here, where all of a sudden you're able to find a big kill onto Cyclone. It's like, oh, well, that in and of itself, that's a huge win. But the fact that, despite the fact that your team suffers some unfortunate losses, you continue picking up kills, you get great knockups. You really showcase, I think, the full kit of Tiamat. Like, if you're wondering why this was a top pick god, that was the kind of play that makes Tiamat a top pick god. And it's just such a big turnaround for them. Not only does he end up getting a quadra kill, almost could have gotten a penta. If there was a pluck, I think it was just slightly afterward on Nepal. If that connects, he goes for the penta. The fact that it is slightly off right there is the thing that slows that one
all
down.
shakes up, but let's take another look at those post-game stats now that we have them available. 7-0-6 from big man Tings. Now, again, he got a quadra kill in that fight, so that 7 is kind of exaggerated a little bit, but still, 7-0 is the big number I'm trying to highlight with it. The fact that this mid laner went undying, coupling that with Variety going undying, and still dealing 32,000 player damage. Tiamat, yeah, you know, we've been joking a little bit about how maybe Tiamat's no longer the top mage. Maybe she's not as good as she once was. I think this is a perfect highlight to show that this god is still that good, and maybe you probably should still be banning that guy. Taking out the record, or could have been shooting for the record against NRG. If you missed any of the action this week, well, here's what you missed, and you don't want to miss any of this. Go back and watch all of these when they get uploaded to Smite VOD, and most importantly, the ones today, the Olympus Bolts get a 2 over the Valhalla Valkyries, and the Camelot Kings do it a second time, stopping the winning streak of the Tartarus Titans and defeating them 2-0. And let's see how that all affects the standings. We talked a little bit about it before the set even started on our first segment, how cool it would be to have a couple of teams still sitting at the top, but instead we have 4 teams sitting at 2-1.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. Look, and the fact that the Warriors, it kind of is unfortunate to see the separation, like the Scarabs.
Let's take a look at that schedule to kind of see what all we get to see. Tartarus Titans start the week off against the Valhalla Valkyries. Another big one immediately after that one. I should say 2, 3, 4, we got 4 really big matchups here. Olympus Bolts, Camelot Kings, Olympus Bolts, and Atlantis Leviathans. That's going to be in studio. Jade Dragons and Solar Scarabs. That's going to be in studio. We get a double header in the studio on Saturday, and then we close the weekend with the Solar Scarabs and the Valkyries, and the Camelot Kings versus the Yoni Warriors. Sure to be some good action this week.
Yeah,